Social Security is a really complex system. There are over 4,000 individual rules in Social Security, which is why virtually nobody has any idea how their own benefits are calculated and determined. In this video, we're going to go over three case studies of people making $100,000 a year, filing for their own benefits at age 62 versus age 65 versus age 67. We'll go over the calculations and when you may or may not want to file at any of those three ages based on your own circumstances. So right off the bat, let's assume that each of our three profiles makes exactly $100,000 this year and will continue making that much adjusted for inflation each year until they retire and file for their own benefits. So what that means is if inflation is 3% on the nose this year, next year they'll make $103,000. If inflation is greater than zero next year, then the following year their compensation will grow as a result. What this also means is that prior years of earnings were not exactly $100,000. They were $100,000 adjusted for inflation. So if inflation was 3% a couple of years ago, then last year's earnings would be closer to 97,000. The previous year's a little bit less than that, and so on and so forth. So what we're assuming here is that each of our three profiles makes $100,000 this year and every single year of their career adjusted for inflation, because that's part of how Social Security works. In order to determine your benefits, the first thing they do is look at all of your earnings history, everything that you've paid in every single year since you started your career. They add all of it up and adjust it for inflation. Now, for each of our three profiles, we're also going to assume that they share the exact same birth date of January 1st, 1965. The reason that's important is because your full retirement age is based on your birth date. So we have three profiles. We're going to assume they were all born at the beginning of 1965. Therefore, their full retirement age is going to be 67. Now, our three profiles are Sandra Soonest. Sandra is going to file as early as she possibly can, which is age 62. We have Edna Early, who's going to file a little bit before her full retirement age at 65 instead of 67. And then we have Oliver On Time, who's our third profile. He's going to file exactly at his full retirement age. So Sandra Soonest at 62, Edna Early at 65, and Oliver On Time at age 67. So as I mentioned, the way that Social Security benefits are calculated is the Social Security Administration counts up all your earnings history from that statement that they make available to you every year, and then they adjust it all for inflation. So every single year that you pay into the system through either your W-2 wages, that's the FICA taxes that you pay that show up on your pay stub, or through self-employment taxes, if you're a self-employed person, those are your contributions into Social Security. So the Social Security Administration keeps track of all that, and then they adjust each year for inflation and average them all out. And the objective here is to determine what's called average indexed monthly earnings, AIME. And that's the number that they use to run some of these calculations to determine how much you get. So in our case studies here, we're going to assume that Sandra, Edna, and Oliver all earned $100,000 in today's dollars, adjusted for inflation, every single year of their career since they started their careers at, let's say, age 25. So since they're in their 60s now, they have more than 35 years of work history. It all averages out to $100,000 per year. Now, realistically, a lot of us might have fewer than 35 years worth of earnings history. And as a quick side note, if that's you, you might want to think about some part-time work before you file for your benefits, or maybe into retirement or some combination thereof. Because if you have fewer than 35 years of earnings history, Social Security is not going to take what you have. They're still going to average it across 35 years, and then you'll have zeros for any years fewer than 35 where you paid into the system. So if you have part-time work, even if it's substantially less than what you're making now, you can replace some of those zeros with a number, and it really can dramatically improve your benefit. So what we're going to assume here is that Sandra, Edna, and Oliver have average annual earnings indexed for inflation of $100,000, When you divide that by 12, their average indexed monthly earnings are a little bit greater than $8,300. On to the calculations. So once you arrive at average indexed monthly earnings, that's when we apply the benefit calculations to figure out what your primary insurance amount is. Your primary insurance amount is what you're entitled to. That's the check you will get from Social Security every month for the rest of your life if you file exactly at your full retirement age. So the way this works is we take average indexed monthly earnings first, we apply these calculations. Now, as a reminder, Social Security is meant to be one portion of retirement income. It's meant to be part of the social safety net, and it's meant to be somewhat progressive as an income replacement throughout retirement. So as a result, we take average indexed monthly earnings, so average earnings history where you've paid into the system, and we add 90% of the first $1,174 of your average index monthly earnings. And then we add to that 32% of the next portion of average index monthly earnings up to $7,078. Anything above $7,078, we multiply by 15%. These tiers are called bend points. And the idea is if you're someone that has a lower income, you will have more of your income replaced by Social Security than someone who made a lot more. Now, keep in mind that there is a wage base. This year, it's a little more than $175,000, I want to say, to where if you make an excess of this wage base, you're only paying into the system up to this maximum amount, which is again slightly above $175,000. If you make $500,000, then the majority of your income is not being paid into the Social Security system. You're not paying Social Security taxes, but also it's not going to be incorporated in this Social Security benefit. So there is a maximum Social Security benefit that you can attain as a result of this wage-based cap. So in our situation, we have average index monthly earnings of about $8,300 a month. We multiply the first 1174 by 90%. We add to that 32% of the next bend point up to $7,078. And then anything that's remaining from our average index monthly earnings, we multiply by 15%. And when we do that and add them all together, that's how we get to primary insurance amount. So now we have our primary insurance amount of $3,134. Now, as you know, you can file before your full retirement age. You can file after your full retirement age. The earliest you can file is 62. That's what Sandra Soonest is going to be filing at. So every month before your full retirement age that you file, that primary insurance amount is reduced by 0.5% for the first 3 years before your full retirement age. Anything in addition to 3 years is reduced 0.5%. So the way that this works, the math on it is if your full retirement age is 67 and you file at age 62, which is what Sandra is going to do, you'll be entitled to 70% of your primary insurance amount. So in Sandra's case, she's going to file at age 62. Remember, all three of our case studies of our profiles have the exact same salary and earnings history. Sandra's going to collect as many checks as she can. She's going to file at 62. She'll be entitled to $2,194 every single month because she's filing that early. That amount will increase a little bit with inflation, but she's locking herself in at that haircut amount. Now, in Edna's case, she's going to file before full retirement age. But instead of having a 30% haircut, only getting 70% of her primary insurance amount, you take 0.5%, you multiply that by the 24 months before her full retirement age. If she files at age 65, that's 2 years before her full retirement age of 67. That means that her benefit will be about 86% and change of her primary insurance amount, which comes out to $2,716 every single month. All of her on time would get 100% of his primary insurance amount, which is that 3134 that we just talked about. So here's 3 examples. Everybody made the exact same amount over their career. They have the exact same birth date and full retirement age. The earliest you can file would entitle you to $2,194 per month. Edna at age 65, closer to $2,716 per month. Oliver on time at full retirement age is going to be entitled to every penny of his primary insurance amount, $3,134 every month for the rest of his life, adjusted for inflation. Now, of course, you can wait until after your full retirement age if you want to, and you can defer all the way up until age 70. And the math on that is for every year that you delay, your benefit goes up by 8% permanently. So the question you might be asking is, who's making the best decision? Is Sandra right to be filing as early as she can and collecting her Social Security as soon as it's possibly available? Or is that a huge mistake? What about Oliver? Is he waiting too long? Should he wait longer? Should he be filing sooner? Right? There are a million different talking heads on the internet and around YouTube that will give you a million reasons you should or should not do any one of these things. The reality is that it should sync up with the rest of your financial and retirement plan, and I could come up with a dozen reasons to file at any one of those 3 ages. Sandra would be making a good decision by filing at 62 if she doesn't think she's going to live very long. Maybe her health is not good. She doesn't have a whole lot of longevity in her family. That's a pretty good reason to collect as many checks as you possibly can. If you don't think you're going to live into your 80s, turn that income spigot on as soon as you possibly can and enjoy the benefits of the system you've paid into for so long, even if the amount's going to be a little bit less. In Oliver's case, if he thinks he's going to live a long time and is confident that he's going to collect a fair number of checks, he's better off waiting, maybe even until after age 67, his full retirement age. The way the math on this works is if you're determining the break-even point, so how long do you need to live for waiting to be the better strategy for you? If you wait all the way until age 70, the maximum you can wait to collect all those delayed retirement credits and that 8% annual increase. If you wait all the way until age 70, you need to live beyond age 83 in order for that to be beneficial to you. If you delay and wait to file for your benefits and then you croak a few years later, well, yeah, obviously you'd have been better off filing earlier. But there's a lot of other factors at play here too. There are spousal benefits, where if you're married and you file for benefits and then you predecease your spouse will be, from that point on, will collect the greater of their own benefit or 100% of what you were collecting. So by waiting, you're locking in a potentially higher benefit, not just for the rest of your life, but for the rest of you and your spouse's lives combined, right? Your own retirement plan, your own cash flow and income situation should dictate when you file. Now, a lot of people are also concerned that Social Security is running out of money and that there will be nothing left for them when it's time to file for benefits. Now, say what you will about that. I don't think that's going to happen. I think we're going to have some pretty substantial changes to the system, but I don't think that it's going away entirely. I feel very confident that it's not going away entirely. Every single year, the trustees of the Social Security Fund are legally required to produce this actuarial report where they comment on the status of the trust. And that's where we get these headlines you might have read where we only have enough money in the Social Security Trust until 2033. That's from the last trustees report. From that point on, yes, there's no money, there's no balance left at the end of the year in the Social Security Trust. But remember, there's still money coming into the fund every single year from the payroll and self-employment taxes paid by all working citizens. So even though there's no balance left in the trust, there's going to be a lot of money coming in. Now, their most recent report projects that, yes, there's not quite enough to pay 100% of everybody's benefits, but they expect there to be enough to pay 79% of everybody's benefits for the next 75 or so years, longer than you or I will probably live. So where I do think we're going to see changes, I think that those changes will probably affect younger people that haven't entered the benefit collection phase of their life yet, people like me, are probably not going to affect beneficiaries already receiving benefits quite as much. So in general, I don't see the fact that we're running out of money in the Social Security trust as a great reason to file earlier, because you're permanently haircutting your benefits like Sandra decided to. That may still be a good decision for you, but don't make it on the basis that Social Security is running out of money. Therefore, we need to collect as many checks as we can. There are too many other factors. All right, that's it for today's video. I hope this was educational. I hope this gave you some bearing on your own benefits. And as always, I will see you again in a future video.